Okay.
Yeah.
It's official. We're live.
All right. Well, according to Paul, we are live. So let's get started. Wow. Right. Exciting stuff. So as I mentioned, I work for the Bitcoin conference. But I'm not here to talk about the actual conference. I've been in Bitcoin for a while. I've been since 2016, 17. It is a passion of mine. I've learned a lot about it. I'm still learning. As I learn more, realize I still have a lot more to learn. But tonight, what I really wanted to talk about is not so much about the price of Bitcoin, but what makes Bitcoin actually worth something and what it is to other people throughout the world. As Americans, we look at it as just another investment, as an asset that's going to make us rich. But to some people, it's more than that, and it's not just an asset, it's something that they use to actually survive. So that's what I'm going to gear my presentation around. And I like to look at Bitcoin and think of Bitcoin as a Swiss Army knife. Why? Because Bitcoin is, like I mentioned, is something different to everyone. To us, it's just an asset. We can invest in it, make money. But is anyone here not from America? Right? So you know what remittances are. You know exchanging money. You know inflation potentially where you're from.
Yes,
We have.
third grade.
What was that?
I learned it in third grade.
Right. I didn't learn about money at all in school. I didn't learn anything. Actually learning about Bitcoin taught me about money and about the financial literacy in general. But as a Swiss Army knife, everyone can have a Swiss Army knife, but people can use a different tool within that Swiss Army knife, right? So I have a friend who is not from here. She's from Argentina, and Argentina is suffering from hyperinflation. So if you put yourself in her position and her family's position, what are they supposed to do? Are they going to save in Argentina pesos? Well, tomorrow that's going to buy me half as much as it would buy me today. It's hyperinflating faster and faster and faster than our currency, but we have the world's reserve currency, which is still inflating. It's just not hyperinflating as much as Argentina, right? So we, as Americans, it's really important for us to check our financial privilege and look at Bitcoin not just as an asset, but why is it valuable? Why do other people and how do other people use it? And the coolest thing about Bitcoin to me is like, there's no CEO, there's no bills that Bitcoin has to pay. It's literally an open network that's running, and people like us are running nodes that is the actual software, and there's someone that can just shut it off. So it's doing something for all these different people all across the world without any bills. And that's what really separates Bitcoin from a lot of these other cryptocurrencies. There are other cryptocurrencies, they actually have a founder. They have marketing teams, they have sales teams, they have all these things that Bitcoin just doesn't have. There's no marketing team for Bitcoin. I work for a Bitcoin company, but we don't have any say on what the actual protocol does. So that is what I'm going to gear my presentation is. And at the end, if there's any questions or anything, please feel free to ask me. I love talking about Bitcoin, and I'm still learning also. And Bitcoin, at the end of the day, to me, is the ultimate humility test. Because there's one thing more scarce in this world than Bitcoin. What do you guys think that is?
Time.
I've heard it. Time. And have you ever met somebody that has an opinion about Bitcoin, but doesn't understand it? And you can tell once you start talking to them, you know why? They haven't spent the most scarce asset on this planet to learn about it. So if you don't spend your actual time to learn about Bitcoin, you have no idea about it. And it's very obvious when you're talking to somebody that has no idea about it, but they have an opinion about it. So you got to spend the most scarce thing in this world to learn about it. And then once you learn about it, it'll hit you in the face like a ton of bricks. You're like, holy shit, this makes sense. I see what this is doing. I see why this is valuable. And then you just go down the rabbit hole, and it shows you and shines lights on so many different things, whether it's even food that we have, and there's so many different rabbit holes. So as you can see, this is just like a map of different places in the world that use Bitcoin a little differently. You guys have all heard of El Salvador, right? El Salvador, as about 3 or 4 years ago, they made Bitcoin a legal tender. Since making Bitcoin a legal tender, El Salvador is went from one of the most dangerous places in the world to one of the most safest places that you can travel to and be. Is that a correlation? Is there a correlation? Is it only because of Bitcoin? Is there other factors involved? Probably, but Bitcoin definitely had a role in that. In Argentina, I already mentioned, like, they are suffering from hyperinflation. Like their pesos are worth absolutely nothing, and they continue to get worth less and less and less. What hope do they have if all they have is their local currency? What are they going to do if they just save in pesos? They're getting poorer and poorer and poorer. And don't get it wrong, so are we as Americans if we're just saving in dollars. Our dollars are getting worth less and less and less over time, and it's only going to continue that way. It's baked into the cake. You guys have any of you guys know who Larry Lepard is? Anyone read his book?
Yes.
That's literally like it's baked into the cake. They're going to continue to print money. There's no way they cannot. And as they print money, what's that mean for us? There's people in this room that are older than I am. You guys probably remember gas being less than $1. You probably remember movies and things costing 5 pennies, right? But what happened? Michael Saylor has a great quote. He says, "The house that I bought is worth 20 million, but when it was first built, it was worth like $100,000. What happened? Did the house become worth more, or did our money get worth less?" It's just a different way of thinking about the same situation. Our money is going to continue to get debased and debased and debased. The question is, what is your plan? What would you guys do if your bank shut down and gave you no access to your bank account? What would you do? Do you have any plan? These are some of the things that Bitcoin solves. Some people don't even have access to a bank. We have credit cards. We have banking. We have all these things that that are status quo for us Americans. But that is not the status quo for all America, for all the world. You look at Ukraine. What happens when the war is going on? Their money's same thing that happened with Canada, with the truckers. Remember that? They used Bitcoin. Bitcoin let them transact. Think about the people that are in places like Hong Kong where censorship, and they don't have the ability to transact. Think about the people that have businesses that are global, but the only way they can actually interact with people is with Bitcoin. They can't send dollars to each other, but Bitcoin allows them to do that. Mobile payments, literally, if you go to Nigeria, and this is factual stuff, if you just have a phone, and in Nigeria, you don't even need the internet. You can have like the old phone, and you can text Bitcoin. They're literally doing that. Think of that. These people don't have access to a bank account, but they have access to a cell phone. Imagine you're in that situation, right? Are you going to hold gold? Think about how risky it would be to hold gold. If anyone knows you have gold, right? What are you going to do? Oh, well, guess what? Whoever has the gold has the money. So if they rob you and they know you have it, guess what? If you're robbed, you no longer have that gold. What are you going to store it under your bed? These are real situations that people in different places in the world have to actually deal with. But with the Bitcoin, as long as you have a phone, you have your money. Has anyone ever heard of Yomi Park? So before I worked for the Bitcoin conference, I was actually attending a conference, and I was listening to a speech by Alex Gladstein. Has anyone ever heard of him? So he's really big in the human rights, and human rights brought him into Bitcoin. And he was doing a panel with her, and what they were talking about was her experience in her life. Her life story is crazy. She was a sex slave, legit. She was sold over and over and over again. She had to cross Korea borders butt naked. How could she carry anything with her? Bitcoin literally allowed her eventually, to cut the story short, to carry her wealth. It gave her hope. It gave her the ability to save. This is a real life story that the technology that we use to get rich is helping other people in the world. Yeah.
Bitcoin?
Yes.
Really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, she wrote a whole book also. So that's how I found out about her. It was at the conference when she was doing a panel with Alex Gladstein. It's insane. Do you know who that is?
I know who that is. She's hot.
This is true. But yeah, so it's hilarious. So one of the my brother used to work, has anyone heard of Strike, the company? My brother was one of the first people outside of the engineers that worked for Strike. So when I was getting into Bitcoin, he was learning about that. One of the biggest things that they were solving for was remittance payments. Does everyone know what remittances are? If not, basically, like if you wanted to come here and you wanted to send money back home, that's called remittances. You're remitting money back to your home, to someone else in another country, right? Typically before Bitcoin, how would that work? You would go to like a Western Union. And Western Union is an actual company. What do companies need to do? They need to make a profit. So to make a profit, they have to charge a cost. So you're paying them for their service because the service they provide is valuable. But guess what? If you have to pay 10% of every, or 30% sometimes to send your money, you're literally sending your family less money. With Bitcoin, you are now able to send and remit money to your family. And I've met people in Abu Dhabi, in Colombia, in different places of the world that are actually using this. These are things that we don't have to do in America, but to people that are using and interacting with this same network, they're using this to keep their money in their family, to be able to give their family all of their money and pay very little fee. Because with Bitcoin doesn't have a building they have to pay for. They don't have employees. It's an open network, and you want to get the transaction fast, and you pay a little bit more money for that transaction. You have some patience, and you can allow that transaction to happen over 24 hours. And we're continuously building on top of that. Has anybody ever used the Lightning Network? Does anyone not know what the Lightning Network is? So with the internet, right? Like the internet started with like AOL, right? And then AOL became like Wi-Fi. Remember there was like, you couldn't even watch a video at first, and now you can watch videos and all that and stream videos. Lightning is basically like that on Bitcoin. I could send somebody Bitcoin over the Lightning Network and you'll get it like this. There is no waiting. Immediately. It's something that was built probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's still improving. Bitcoin's not a finished product. Bitcoin's now like 17, 18 years old, which it's still very, very young. But just like the internet and how people use the internet differently, some people go on the internet to be an influencer. Some people do their email. Some people watch videos. Some people watch news. Everyone does something different on the internet, and everyone does something different using Bitcoin. So like I was just saying, Bitcoin remittances, it's a huge, like if there's over $1 trillion a year in remittances, and if 10% of that's $100 billion in fees that these companies are taking. Imagine sending what could your family do, or these families in these places do with keeping that money? They're going to be more financially sound.
One of the banks were against it.
Of course. This
Not
literally,
really on board.
this is literally taking money out of their pocket, but they've been taking money out of all of our pockets, right? And they've been preying on other countries even worse. Have you ever met anyone that moved here to send money back to their family because they work here for dollars, right? That's such a common story, and you hear it, and it's so heartbreaking. It's like, I'm working for dollars to send back to my family, and because they need dollars. People in other countries buy dollars because they know their currency is going down so fast, they need to save in something, so they buy dollars. But guys, our currency is also going down here in America. Like, it is what it is. Like, has anyone studied the Federal Reserve at all? It is insane. I had no idea. I know you mentioned you learned about like finances. I didn't know anything about the Federal Reserve until about 5 years ago. Right? It is insane. The Federal Reserve is not a government agency whatsoever. They were literally schemed so hard, and they passed a bill on December 24th, right before the holiday, at night, and say, oh, we'll change it later. And all of a sudden now they are in control of our currency, and we're here 100+ years later, and they still get to control. Didn't they just have like a meeting today where they didn't change rates, whatever? Like, it's insane. They are not a government, and the president can't even fire the person. It's like, what? But that's the world that we live in. So they don't like Bitcoin. Why? Because they can't control Bitcoin. But guess what? Bitcoin doesn't need them. They're going to end up needing Bitcoin. And everyone here right now, we're still front running the other countries, the government. Because guess what? Eventually, everyone's going to have to, they're going to have, what's the word? Capitulate? Adopt, capitulate. They're going to adopt this. It's inevitable. Just like printing dollars is inevitable, Bitcoin just becoming worth more and more over time is inevitable because it is a deflationary asset, right? Over 90% of Bitcoin that will ever be are already mined. Does anybody know where the rest of the Bitcoin is, where it is? It's locked in the future. You literally have to go into the future to get the Bitcoin. You can't bring it here today. It's a little different than gold. Let's say gold's value went up by 10 right now. How much more profitable would it be for people to mine gold? How much faster would they find the gold if it's more profitable? You can't do that with Bitcoin, because part of what makes Bitcoin so awesome is does anyone understand you guys probably do, but like how the blocks work? Every 10 minutes, a new block is mined. and then the difficulty adjustment that's also built into Bitcoin. So let's say miners start mining the Bitcoin, but it happens really quick, right? So they're finding Bitcoin faster than 10 minutes. Every 2 weeks on average, the difficulty adjustment changes. What does that mean? That means if it's happening quicker, then the difficulty adjustment will make it harder for the Bitcoin to get mined. If it happens too slow, they'll make it easier. And every 2 minutes, it adjusts. So the only way to get that next Bitcoin, it's all locked in the future. You can't speed it up. It's really wild. And these are things like, as I've learned about Bitcoin, I've learned that I don't know everything, and I continue to want to ask more questions. And I learn more and more about these things. It's like, holy shit, this guy thought of, group, whoever it is, they thought of everything. So this is not bring your own beer. This means be your own bank.
I like it.
But I changed that one myself. But Bitcoin literally allows us to be our own bank. Like, and again, like how, like I've had a bank account ever since I like was able to have a bank account. Being American, that's a privilege that we have, right? But not everyone has that privilege, which I've already kind of highlighted. But everyone that has a phone can now have a bank account. How cool is that? Like, imagine you were in a third world country and all you had was a phone. Where's your hope? Like, where's like, what are you looking forward to? What assets are you holding that are going to appreciate in value? If you live in Nigeria or Africa or another country or anywhere that maybe their currency is not worth much, can you buy American real estate? Can you buy American on the stock market? What are you buying to appreciate in value? Bitcoin is an asset that everyone in the world can own, and they can hold it and be their own bank. That is something that's never been able before. And again, it's doing all of this without a CEO, without any bills, without any expenses. There's no one that could just change the rules of Bitcoin, right? It's an open network that needs consensus. What that means is like like right now there's some Twitter drama going on in the Bitcoin community with the different software, Bitcoin Core, knots. And what that means, the people run nodes, and you can't just change. Over 51% of all the nodes have to change for it to be adopted. And it's a consensus thing. So you'd have to go into every single person's house to change the node and the software they're running to change Bitcoin. But the incentives aren't in changing Bitcoin, it's in joining Bitcoin. Because it's more profitable to join Bitcoin than it is to go against it, because it's going to cost you more money, and then you're going to lose everything that you have.
So just for perspective, Bitcoin is the world's biggest computer network in existence, right? The biggest decentralized computing network ever to exist. So there's never been anything like it. And it consumes quite a bit of energy, and everybody likes to, a lot of people like to say that it's, polluting the environment because of the energy consumption. But if you actually compare it to other things, it's not even comparable. So, for example, just the United States alone during Christmas season, during the holidays, consumes more electricity with just Christmas lights than the entire Bitcoin network worldwide, right? But everybody likes to slander Bitcoin because, the mainstream doesn't like it, because it's essentially gonna, when you have a scarce asset class, you have to be accountable for how that asset class is spent, right? And they want to keep, like we saw with Doge, they want to keep printing and issuing themselves billions of dollars at the stroke of a key on their laptop. It's not even, they don't even have to print it anymore, right? At least back then they'd have to actually print the bills. Today it's a keystroke, and essentially what's happening
Mouse
is,
click money.
yeah, it's just digital. It's fraud at the highest level. And I don't know if you saw the most recent Doge hearing, but they found out that, and this is staggering, but annually, $5 trillion of tax money is unaccounted for. That's $5 trillion, right? This is unheard. I can't even wrap my head around that. And this is annually, right? So we wonder why we're sinking, right? 30-some trillion in debt. And yeah, the only way out is essentially to remove that power that they have, which is to purchase.
Well, we can't default on the debt. It's not happening, right? Imagine we defaulted on our debt. So it's never going to happen. So the other option, we're going to print our way out of it. So what's your plan? Like, are you just going to, if we're saving in dollars, like you're purchasing power, like you're just saying, okay, I'm okay with the status quo and I'm okay with my dollars getting worth less. Like, And that's just over a long enough time frame, like things are just going to continue to get more expensive and our dollars going to get worth less and less and less. But to piggyback on what he was saying about energy, in El Salvador, where Bitcoin is a legal tender, Bitcoin mining, which is one of the aspects where honestly I'm not the most versed. I don't know like too much about it, but I know a little bit. But it chases the cheapest energy. And energy is abundant in this universe. Like we're not going to run out of natural energy. I was in Abu Dhabi and they literally naturally, oil just like it just is there and then it replenishes over and over again. What's that mean? They're sitting on money. They're sitting on a natural resource. It doesn't like, it's not like, oh, you use this oil that we're going to run out of oil. We're not going to waterfall. I didn't realize that energy comes from a waterfall. Like in El Salvador, they built a mining institution off of a waterfall that takes the energy from the waterfall to create a currency. That currency can create value for that community. That is insane. But that energy was wasted energy. What was happening before they built that mining rig with that energy? So there's no incentive to like use expensive energy. Bitcoin mining chases the cheapest energy.
It's driving renewable energy forward.
Correct.
Because people are incentivized to find the cheapest energy sources so they become creative. So in a way, it rewards all of the best attributes of innovation, and gets a bad rap because
it's just a talking point.
It's just to discredit stuff. Just how Ross Ulbricht, right, the founder of Silk Road, which was just a decentralized eBay. That's all it was. And yeah, he got caught up in some questionable, controversial stuff, but he was trapped. That was entrapment, and he was pardoned now. But
he'll be speaking at our conference.
He's speaking at the conference. Yep. The kid, he was like a 19-year-old computer developer, and he got entrapped by the FBI because they wanted to stop what they deemed was a threat to their monopoly on the market.
Has anyone heard of Silk Road? Right.
Right, and it was abused. Right,
So-
there's bad actors in every fiat, any currency ever. You can't control that.
On a cell phone, I'm sure there's people in this world that have used this thing to do bad things. Does that mean the creator of a cell phone should be in jail for 15 years without parole because somebody used their creation to do something illegal with? Right, that's what basically happened with this guy. He created something that people did something illegal on. I mean, people probably kill people with hammers. It's just a tool. There's good and bad in this world. And then they say, oh, Bitcoin's for criminals. More money, more US dollars, more fiat currency. Like criminals, they'll literally say the federals, like the police, we like when people use Bitcoin. Why? Because it's transparent. You can see who's transacting. If I paid someone $100,000 and they put a hit out on somebody and it's in cash, there's no trace of that. Like,
so you guys heard recently, right, that with our tax dollars, the various government agencies were booking out the Caesar's Palace, right, and stadiums to throw parties. And it turns out that JP Morgan and these banking institutions, they're really good at tracking fraud, very good at it, right? And they were aware that this was
talking about
going on.
Epstein's bakers?
Well, yeah, correct, actually. But it turns out, how at the back of your debit card, or credit card, whatever, there's 3-digit security code, right? That's to prevent fraud. These agencies that were benefiting from our tax dollars actually had that removed from their cards because they wanted it to be exploited. And they actually had a relationship with the banks where the banks essentially turned a blind eye. And there was a few that did report it, but nothing was done about it, right? Because they were everybody's getting cut, right? And that's only achievable when you have access to a money printer. This is another crazy thing. There was actually money printers in these agencies outside of the Fed. They had their own money printers. I'm talking about 3 separate agencies that had nothing to do with the Mint, the Federal Reserve, had their own money printers, right? Like that's just mind-boggling. But here we are, we're finally getting privy to it, and this
there's an out.
There's an out.
Bitcoin is it's not in their control. They can't make more of Bitcoin.
And the more corrupt it is, the more brazen the corruption, and that's where we are today. It's in our face.
What were you gonna ask, sir?
I remember reading that in spite of Salvador's done, very few natives there are using it.
Yeah.
Sorry, because you can't buy anything. I mean, the difficulty in using it.
Yeah. So I remember when they first started, they had a wallet that wasn't great.
Yeah.
And it was things like Chivo wallet or whatever, and it wasn't the most accessible, it wasn't the most but that was also like the very beginning of Lightning. And like I mentioned, it's still a work in progress. Like it's not a perfect but yeah, it's not everywhere yet. It's just slowly, suddenly, and then oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And me personally, I don't spend Bitcoin. I don't need Bitcoin to be a medium of exchange personally. But can it be a medium of exchange? Yes. But yeah, it's not in its finished product yet, right? And that's kind of like the coolest thing, which is like, man, we're still really early because just like people built on the internet and they added things to make the internet more efficient, faster. Bitcoin's good. They're going to do that. That's going to happen with Bitcoin. That's why developers companies are building things on top of Bitcoin because it's an open source network, which means anyone can access it. Like you have Cash App, anyone? Anybody have Venmo? Can you send cash from a Cash App to Venmo? No, but guess what? They both have Bitcoin integrated. So I can send Bitcoin from Cash App to Venmo, but I can't send it with normal bank rails. It's really cool to think about. Like I was with a girl the other night, and she was from Bolivia, and I was trying to share with her look, I can send you Bitcoin immediately. I had her download a wallet, and I sent it to her immediately, and her mind was blown. She had never heard of Bitcoin, and she was like, "What? Like you can send that to your family back home also." And
what is this guy? Just got this on Discord today. Jerry Banfield. I don't know Jerry Banfield. But he's pushing something called Internet Computer Protocol.
ICP?
Yeah, and I tried to. I don't know what that is, so I tried to find
Another
out.
blockchain.
Pardon me?
It's just another blockchain.
Yeah, it's another blockchain, right?
Mhm.
But he was so negative about Bitcoin.
Of course.
Yeah, and I
He
was
uses
like,
his own cryptocurrency. He doesn't
yeah,
use
yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know him, I guess he has a reputation.
Incentives, right? What are his
Being
incentives?
Contrarian, right, to Bitcoin. But he was making a case that it's not as easy as you experience it today to actually, get Bitcoin to somebody else.
It is
Yeah,
difficult.
well, it's for some people that so I've learned that I'm probably a little further along the journey than some other people, and some other people are further along the journey than I am. For example, my dad does not know how to use a computer till this day. Does that mean computers aren't easy to use? People are on different journeys of using Bitcoin. A lot of people don't even realize Lightning wallets are a thing, and they don't understand what that is, right? But that's part of that journey is learning about it. And then as you're learning, things are also changing. But people that create a different currency, like XRP, for example, they literally paid marketing dollars to try to kill Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin does what they're doing, but maybe not better, but it's not a business. They have a marketing team, right? But XRP is literally a business from Ripple. They created their own currency. What was that?
That skull is pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's actually might be at the conference.
There's a big distinction. So you get convenience versus security, right? So XRP gives you convenience because it's centralized. You can transact quickly because it doesn't need millions of computers worldwide to validate that transaction, right? You just need one server and one headquarter in some office somewhere to validate that transaction. So you're going to get speed. But with Bitcoin, what you get is security. Yeah, it might take longer, right? But it's like one of those Vitamix blenders. It does one thing and it does it very good, and that's what we need it for. We don't need it to do a million things. We need it to do money, and that's it.
But it's also, XRP is it's a great example because they have a marketing team, guys. They literally are marketing their product to people. Bitcoin does not have a marketing team. That's huge.
Come on.
They also need a login team. They put the partner gave $20 million to the Kamala Harris campaign. So they have to do politicians.
Yes.
Yes. XRP. Yes.
Yeah, it's literally that's because they're a company. They have a founder. They have bills to pay. They're marketing their product, and by they can't say good things about Bitcoin because it's just Anyways, this video I'm about to play, I work with her. Her name is Isabella. She went to a city in Mexico and she basically moved there from Miami, and her goal was to create a circular economy. And this is kind of what she has learned from moving there, and it was a little different than what she realized.
Hey guys, it's Isa from BTC Isla. I'm over here in Cypherpunk'd. Little tractor. Anyway, hello Naples. I'm over here in Isla Mujeres, and honestly, one of the coolest ways that I've realized people here on the island use Bitcoin for is savings. In the island, there's not much of a savings culture, and they grew up, spending all the money that they had, even more of the money that they didn't even have. So one of the things that I realized with Bitcoin was they're able to stack sats, even though that they still, use it between them. They sell sats between each other and they pay with fiat. It also has pushed them to save because here on the island, there's only 17 or 18 places that accept Bitcoin. And most of them just think it's more of a hassle to sell their sats than to do anything else. So it's been interesting to see that play out. And I don't know, there's many ways that you can use Bitcoin. I've seen them, pay for their medical bills, car accidents, and everything, literally. So,
Which kind of highlights what you were saying earlier. People aren't necessarily using Bitcoin to transact with in these places, but they're using it as savings. And can anybody think of a better use case than savings? Like we all have savings, right? We all that is the biggest use case.
Value for value buying.
Right? But we need savings, right? And people that don't have savings, what are they looking forward to? What do they look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What is their outlook? So basically what she's experiencing right now on this island, it's a low time preference process. Does everyone know what low time preference is? It's basically the opposite of immediate gratification. I'm doing things today to benefit me down the road. So I'm eating a little healthier, right? I'm not doing the Ozempic. I'm changing my lifestyle, right? Because I'm doing it for down the road. Bitcoin really shines the light on a low time preference lifestyle. And saving is one of the first things that allows you to have that low time preference. Bye, Isabella.
So she also works for the Bitcoin magazine team.
Yeah, she'll be there.
And she's great.
All right, is that cool? Store of value. As she was saying, that's their savings, right? People here, what do we hold as store of value? Is it real estate? What's the carrying cost of real estate? Once it's all paid off, you still have to pay taxes on it? Is it ever actually yours? What's the carrying cost on Bitcoin? If your real estate had no carrying cost and it was going to continue to appreciate in value, what's a better investment? What's a better store of value? Real estate was great for its time.
Well, you can rent real estate.
Yeah.
To leverage.
Yeah, but you have to make money off of it. But if you don't rent it, and renting can be a pain in the ass, right? Has anyone ever any rental properties that have never caused them any issues? Didn't have to get a new roof. You have to had good tenants the entire time, right? Real estate, there's benefits of real estate. I'm not saying it's horrible, right? But there's carrying costs there, and there's risk associated with everything. But in my perspective, I'd rather hold something where I don't have to pay taxes on it. That's going to continue to appreciate. What was that?
You can leverage your Bitcoin too.
Yeah, if you want to, if people do, just be careful. I mean, make sure you.
So since we're on the subject, today Ron DeSantis had a hearing, and
Yeah, I saw
they're going to get rid of property tax here in Florida. So
Definitely.
I mean, they're very much so pushing for that. They want to be the first, So apparently, this is, listening to his constituents, right? We should not continuously, perpetually pay for something that we own, right? And the beauty of Bitcoin is that it allows you to opt out. You can own that scarce asset indefinitely. You can park it. It is yours. You don't pay interest on it, right? If the government that you're a citizen of wants to violate your rights, You can vote with your wallet. You can opt out, right? And so this is going to change the paradigm between government and citizens because they're not going to be able to extract and coerce. It's going to have to be a mutual, a mutually beneficial relationship, right? Like a business would treat its customer. That's how government's going to start having to treat its citizens if they want their Bitcoin, right?
Yeah. Which is, it's when you say that.
I have a question. They get rid of property taxes. Where do the schools and get their money from?
Well,
Yeah.
they're going to defund Department of Education. No, it's been a failed experiment.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here. We're here because it's not.
Look, that's a great idea. So there's actually someone talking about this, CJK. He's another one of our favorites here in the local Bitcoin community. He'll be at the Bitcoin conference as well. And he's starting something called the People's Reserve, which is going to offer what is Bitcoin bonds and municipal bonds for Bitcoin for that exact cause, right? So it's going to give these local, smaller governments the opportunity to take their tax dollars, take whatever revenue they're generating off of taxes, and stake it into a Bitcoin bond, which will generate yield. And that yield can then pay for salaries for teachers. It can actually allow for them to have a real retirement plan, bring back real wages, real salaries to incentivize good teachers, right? So it's all going to change because we're essentially pegging ourselves to a currency that can't be devalued. So like anything in a natural market would, it'll become more efficient and less expensive, right? And so our Bitcoin is going to go further. And this is how it should be. This is how it was when we were pegged to gold. And ever since 1971, when we've departed, we've lost our purchasing power. We've lost 98% of our purchasing power, right? Since 71. So we're going to change that.
Yep. There's a way out now. And like one of the other things that is really cool about Bitcoin being a store of value, and when you think of like it compared to different stores of values, gold, for example, let's say you are a gold bug and you need to move and you need to escape for whatever reason, go somewhere or flee, whatever it is. How are you going to carry your gold on an airplane? How are you going to get it to another place? If you have real estate, like how are you going to take your real estate to another place? Like you literally have to, you can't just get up and move. Like there's a process you have to sell. There's a whole journey that has to happen before you're able to leave. With Bitcoin, I'm out. They can't stop me. I have these 12 words in my head. I can go spend this anywhere I want. Like that is crazy. And that's real. That's actually, people are doing that right now. People will move and relocate very easily because they have access to their currency in any country. And you can sell Bitcoin for any kind of currency, whether it's pesos, dollars. You can't do that with the other stores of value. And so it is still relatively new in the big scheme of things, but these things are actually changing. People's lives and they're opting out. Investors, like companies now, like how many have you heard like, oh, we're putting Bitcoin on our treasury, we're adopting a Bitcoin strategy. Like as that happens, like to me, I always like to think of things like very simple terms. So like supply and demand, like very simple, like right. Bitcoin supply is going down, right? In terms of like new supply. Demand is going to most likely, right, is going to continue to go up. So what changes?
Yeah.
The only thing that can change is price. And it's like, for me, like I don't like to overcomplicate things. Like, all right, so it's just simple supply and demand. Supply is going down, demand's going up. The only variable that can change is the price. Is it going to go straight up? No. Is it going to be volatile? Yes. But guess what? Anybody ever been to a doctor and your vital signs were flat? That means you're dead. Volatility is vitality. You need the volatility. It means you're alive. It means it's part of a healthy market, right? That doesn't mean it's always going to be fun when it's going down, but it's much better than being flat. Like that's Bitcoin. Like it's going to be volatile. But over long enough time, and that's a low time preference, it's going to continue to go up. It's just not going to always be up.
Just on that point, price discovery, all that, this is because we're early, right? As this is like a life raft for all assets worldwide. And eventually it's going to stabilize. And then it won't be about, number go up anymore. It'll just be about essentially preserving your life's energy, right? You're going to want to be able to pass on your inheritance. This is going to represent multi-generational wealth. And at that point in time, the price will stabilize as various asset classes from around the world merge into the only truly scarce commodity in existence.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, in terms of like being your own bank and everything, there's over 1.7 billion adults on this planet that don't have access to a bank. That's wild. Like, we may not ever come across someone on a day-to-day basis that doesn't have access to a bank, but there are people in this world, on this planet that we all share, that don't have a bank, but they can use Bitcoin. And if they can use Bitcoin, they can start saving. If they can start saving, they can start planning for the future. If they can start planning for the future, what happens? Is that a better world or a worse world?
Better world.
So we hear about like Bitcoin is hope. It, like, to us, it's an investment, but to other people, it's hope. To other countries, it gives them that ability to see, oh my gosh, like there is something on the other side. I can own something that's going to be worth more. It's not just another investment to them.
Venezuela is the South American country that owns the most Bitcoin, and there's a reason why. Because they've been on the, on the communist
Yeah.
government. With the,
Which country?
Venezuela.
Venezuela? Like, like look at, I mean, it's the Roman money. Like they, like they used to put like in the, is it the dinar? What was it? The coin the Romans used to use? Right? They used to, and then they started like, we used to be all gold, and they started like putting less gold in it. It's money is like, the history of money is always, it's like money destroys like countries, which is something like what for me, like just seeing like America thinking about sound money again, because we're at a crossroads. Like if we don't change, like America, it's very like the writing's on the wall. If we just continue to print, our country is going to not be what it is. But if we can adopt and go to sound money, which is what kind of Larry talks about, it's not going to be a perfect process. It's going to hurt people. People are not. It's not going to be great on all like rosies and all that. But after that, it's going to be better for the people. And right now we're early, right? Like we're still on the early side of this. This is censorship resistance. Like think of the person that's in another country that has a product they want to do business with, but they're like in Afghanistan, like women aren't allowed to have bank accounts, but they can have Bitcoin, which means they can transact, and they don't have to worry about the people from Star Wars stopping them. And Darth, like that's real things. So at the end of the day, what's Satoshi's legacy? This is a permissionless open network, and it's more than just money. Yes, it's a peer-to-peer network that allows people to transact, but it allows everyone to transact, not just your friends, your enemies, anyone and everyone. Anyone can use it. People are going to use it for good. People are going to use it for bad. Welcome to being a human. But it's more than just money. It's for everyone.
We're connected with a missionary, and one of the places he goes to and sends to is Cuba. But any money he sends into Cuba, the government takes a huge percentage.
Yep.
Until he discovered he could send Bitcoin. Send it directly to the people, and there's no.
They can't stop it. Like that's a real life story. To us, it's an investment, but for a missionary, it's an opportunity for them to give more to the people they're trying to help.
Like 50% more.
And yeah, and there's no stopping it. So have you heard of Alex Gladstein?
No.
You should check him out. He's with the HRF Human Rights Foundation, and a lot of the stuff he talks about, if that's something that you find interesting about Bitcoin, he talks about that a lot. And it's more of the human rights aspect of how Bitcoin allows these missions and people to, like, I really encourage like watching and listen to his stuff.
You guys remember the Canadian trucker?
Alex Gladstein. He wrote a book called Check Your Financial Privilege. But he's the one that I listened to on a panel with Yami Park. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name, but I know her last name is Park. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is for everyone. And that's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But please.
I don't know if anyone has heard of this, but my real estate agent told me about 2 months ago that she's getting certified to take Bitcoin to buy a house.
Yeah.
Anybody heard of that?
Yeah, I mean, so the company that he was talking about earlier, CJK, like these are things that are happening. Like
That was amazing.
yeah, that's how early it is. That's all gonna happen over time. But so Trump became president, and as a Bitcoiner, everyone on Twitter was like, he said he was gonna free Ross day one. He was gonna free Ross day one, like immediately, right? And we're all on Twitter like, he lied to us, but he did it the next day, right? We want things a lot faster, like, and we think we can, like, everything happens like that, but there's a process. Like, so is that gonna happen? Of course. Is it gonna happen immediately? No. But if that's, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, because if not, how many people probably, there's a lot of, was it over 100 million people in America own Bitcoin? I mean, how many, like, if I'm a realtor, I want their business, right?
I never heard it from
Yeah.
anybody else.
But you don't need to be certified. To use Bitcoin, you don't need to be certified.
Yeah. Exactly.
But if, I would like to call, you have Bitcoin, you belong to the 21 million.
Yeah, we're all working towards the same thing.
But here's an important thing for everyone in the room to really take. If there's something that we highly encourage you to do, is to take self-custody of your Bitcoin, right? If you're just holding Bitcoin on Coinbase is, an LLC essentially, right? If they were to be subpoenaed or if they were, to be hacked, right? You could lose all your Bitcoin.
So I have a personal story. Have anyone heard of Celsius?
Yes.
Okay. So this was a couple years ago. I had Bitcoin on Celsius. Thankfully, before their shit hit the fan, I was kind of paying attention to Bitcoin Twitter, and they're like, something's not seeming right. So I took it out of the part where they paid you yield into like the earn account to a custody account. Because I did that, I was actually able to eventually, after 2.5, 3 years, to get it out. But the people that didn't take it out and left it in the earn account, they got pennies on the dollar because they didn't own their Bitcoin. They gave the right of their ownership to another company, and that company went bankrupt, which means when that company goes bankrupt, it's not theirs anymore. So, right? And but those are things like, it sucks. Like, it was horrible. But self-custody, it's yours. Bitcoin gives you the ability to be your own bank. Why still be with the bank if this can be your own bank, right? It's a learning process.
So who in this room is a custodian of their own Bitcoin, out of curiosity? Okay. So who is not and would like to be?
In addition to that, there are certain companies, like for me, Coinbase is a casino. So is Gemini just Bitcoin, or do they sell other cryptocurrencies? Do they sell other cryptocurrencies on there?
Yeah.
For me, if they do other things other than Bitcoin, I'm not putting my Bitcoin there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, the scary thing is they wanted you to put it into, they had this third.
Yeah.
And I put it in, but thank goodness, the courts went, protected us, and I got it back.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Self-custody is the best way.
Yeah.
There are certain companies like Strike, River, they only do Bitcoin.
Right.
Swan also, they only do Bitcoin. Those are the companies that I would recommend if you were going to keep it on a Bitcoin-only company.
So anybody that would like to learn how to become, your own bank, essentially, there's a device you can buy online, right? There's a
Walmart now sells them.
Right. It's
Best
like a USB flash drive, right? And that's your wallet. And essentially, even if you lose that, as long as you have the 12-word seed phrase written down somewhere, you can restore your wallet on any device. And here's the point. It's a little intimidating at first, right?
It's very intimidating.
Because you're dealing with funds, right? It's a little intimidating at first, but like any technology, in the beginning, it's there's a learning curve. But bring it here. If you want to be custodian of your own coin, bring it here and we'll walk you through it, right? After, before the meeting, whatever. Because that's the whole point of Bitcoin, is to take ownership over your assets.
And just since we're talking about it, do not put your seed words on your phone. Do not put them in your notes, right?
No.
Don't take a screenshot of them. But these are like we laugh, but these people since Bitcoin started, people have lost their Bitcoin for like things that, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you have it safe, secure, maybe in multiple places. So someone that you really trust, like a brother or mom, whoever it may be. Not every brother is the best, right?
If you
We all-
don't want to do it with anybody, just go online and look at a YouTube video, right? There's a bunch. Just watch 15 minutes and you'll know what to do, right, from there.
But it is intimidating. It is hard. It is not normal. It goes against kind of like some, right? But convenience, right? What is or security?
Yeah.
I know, or people in general that self-custody, I can go anywhere in this world and bring my money, my Bitcoin, and no one can stop me. Like, that's freaking powerful.
So if your Bitcoin is on Coinbase or something like that, you can send it to your own Bitcoin wallet, right? If you get a little device, you spawn a wallet address, and you can send it from there to your own wallet that is now offline. It's called a cold wallet. It's not hot because it's not on the internet, right? So you send it to your own wallet, and then if you want to send it back to Coinbase, you can do that. It's super easy, right? It's literally just like sending an email. You just copy your address, paste it, send, right? You verify the last four, make sure that's good. Before you ever send a large transaction, send a tiny little test transaction, right? And then you're good to go. If it comes through, send the rest. But this is what we encourage people to do, is to take it off of Coinbase, and it'll still appreciate in value just like it would there, right? Because it's still...
And you can always send it back to Coinbase. You can always send it back.
You can always send it back.
And you could send it to Cash App. You can send it to Venmo. Anyone that has the Bitcoin network, again, Cash App has the Bitcoin network, Venmo has the Bitcoin network. They're all using the same network. They can, Robinhood, they're all using the Bitcoin network, which means,
How about the ETF? Are they safe?
so the ETFs are great for certain people that maybe like, it's a very first step to Bitcoin, right? You don't technically own your Bitcoin. They still own the Bitcoin for you. Right? So it's good for like exposure for like a 401k, because their 401k can invest into an ETF, but you don't own that actual Bitcoin. So if you wanted to like take your Bitcoin to another place, you'd have to sell the ETF. So there's a process still.
Or go
You,
to a dollar?
correct.
Tax event.
Yeah, it's a tax event, correct.
Hey, what's the cost of running a node, and why did you decide to do it?
If I were to run a node or recommend someone run a node, which a node, by the way, is based, just think of it, it's a computer without a screen, right? It's just it's just like this thing without the screen, right? It's just, and you're running a software, right?
So-
You don't, I would recommend Start9. It's a very it's
$150, you can buy one. It's the size of your cell phone.
Yep.
And you can mine Bitcoin. So every day you're now mining the Bitcoin blockchain. And so far, just in 1 week, like a couple weeks ago, 2 of these small devices unlocked a block, which means they gained 3 Bitcoins, which is like, significant.
So it's also important. Nodes run the software. The software keeps this product decentralized, right? So that makes it so someone can't change Bitcoin. Like somebody, like there's been like, you've heard of Bitcash, people have tried to change Bitcoin, but over 51% of all the existing nodes have to change for it to change. But again, incentives line with keeping Bitcoin the same, because it's going to cost you more money to try to change the system than if you just use the system.
It's impossible. You as the richest person in the world, you couldn't afford it. So yeah. Sailor can't do it.
That's
No, no.
So people always ask people have heard of Michael Saylor, right? And he owns a shit ton of Bitcoin. However, he can't change how people use Bitcoin, right? He has no control over the actual protocol. He just owns a lot of the protocol. What a lot of like Ethereum, for example, that's a proof of stake system, meaning the more you own, the more control you have over the system. Bitcoin's a proof of work. So how much you own does not matter in terms of like the control you have over the actual network. Does that make sense? Did anyone else have a question?
Well, he brought up a good point. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What cold wallet do you use that finds most simplicity?
I would go with BitKey.
BitKey,
Go with BitKey.
Trezor, BitKey.
BitKey is the easiest.
Ledger is also super friendly, but Ledger, there's a controversy whether or not
They're not open source.
Right, exactly. They said they were going to be open source. They're not.
There's a backdoor.
They had a scandal occur. I don't like it. So Treasure is open source.
Trezor is great, Bitkey is great. The best though is Cold Card. Cold Card. Trezor. Cold Card's very technical though, and but it's the most secure. It's tough though. I would recommend going with Bitkey or Trezor. Yeah, Bitkey. And
Anybody use Tandem wallet?
Yeah, I was just asking about that. I'm not sure.
what was your question, man?
Obviously, you guys come out, you guys got your donation signs out and stuff like that, and you guys have given your time and your knowledge to come sit here. What benefits do you have from sitting here in your free time to tell us your knowledge?
Yeah, so I think of it as like, I used to be there. And that's when how I started my presentation was, if you don't spend your time learning it, right? Bitcoin is a humility test. You have to spend your actual time to learn it. And you guys being there means you're spending your time right now to be here to learn about something. And I remember when I was in the beginning stages of my journey, and I was like, man, like I'm confused. Like, and I wanted to like, I'm not the most technical person. I mean, I feel like I have decent knowledge about Bitcoin, but I feel like certain people can talk to certain people in different ways. Like Larry is probably great for a lot of the people in Naples because his story resonates because his experience aligned with your timeline. I'm a younger person, so I don't have the same experiences as Larry, but we all when I'm up here talking to somebody, I'm learning also. Like when you're teaching, you're learning more, right? So, and I'm also thinking there's.
In addition to that, Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer network. So essentially, there's a community being built, and eventually one day, with digital economy coming down the road, we'll be peer-to-peer. So we'll be transacting.
And I'm the co-founder of this. It's me and my buddy Matt that kicked it up, and then it's the community has taken it over, and I'd love to see it. But the reason we started it to begin with was because we were already in the space years ago. We got in early, right? We were already in the space, and the reason we found ourselves in this space is because our generation, we grew up on the internet, right? And we have been aware of quite a bit of, let's just say, things that just didn't quite line up, right? We started questioning the narrative, right? So we had access to more information than our parents did. And so we were seeking truth, and that led us eventually to Bitcoin. And as we became early adopters, one of the things you want to be able to do is trade Bitcoin with other Bitcoiners, right? So you want a circular economy, you want a peer-to-peer network, and you don't always want to have it be a taxable event, right? And so ideally, if, for example, you want to buy a boat or whatever, right, and you have a lot of Bitcoin and someone's got cash and they want to buy Bitcoin and have it be a non-KYC event, then that's a real possibility when you have a local community, right? There's that factor, but then there's also this factor. We're young men. We have kids, right? And we care about our future. And so I think this is a unifying movement. It's a unifying cause, and it's bringing about the best attributes of humanity worldwide. And this is not just happening here, right? You have people who are being altruistic with their time because it's essentially a selfish act because it's going to benefit you and your family in the long run. And we hope to see that world become a reality. So we're just doing our part, trying to contribute, trying to essentially orange pill where we can, right? Because we think this is our opportunity in our generation to do the right thing, so that when our kids are grown, they don't have to be drafted into some war, fighting for yet again some cause that has nothing to do with our interests, right? We don't want to continue to repeat this bloody cycle that we've been caught up in. And since we've been on the internet from a young age, we've seen the controversy, we've seen the hypocrisy, the lies, the gaslighting, and we're exhausted. We want to figure out where to direct our energy, right? And Bitcoin essentially allows us to not waste our energy, right? So we're being calculated in how we're spending it. And there is no wasted moment when you're talking about Bitcoin. Thank you. Hey man, this is what we're here for. This is it.
We also increase the
Yep.
That-
Yeah, we're front running now.
So guys, it's time for the raffle.
Okay.
Who wants to attend the Super Bowl of Bitcoin, Las Vegas?
I don't, who actually will be able
Who
to
actually-
make it to
So-
Vegas? First
Or
off,
who might have a friend or a family member that might, right?
anybody, and so the conference is gonna be the May 27th through the 29th. And I wanna make, the people I give the tickets to, I wanna make sure they're gonna go, not just give tickets like, and they don't go. So if you can't make it, like, don't even say you wanna take it, because that's kind of like gonna maybe hurt somebody. But
Man, I wish I knew you were giving it out, I would have bought it.
well, you have one, you can bring a plus one,
What's that?
you can bring another person.
No one's going with me.
Yes.
Come see us out there. Come hang out with us.
So is anybody interested in coming to the conference in Vegas?
I've already gone.
You'll be there.
Are
So-
you gathering at your house tonight?
So, I hope people do. Since John isn't here, John is actually right now with Jack. They're up in, I believe, in Tampa at Jack Maller's event. There's a corporate Bitcoin event. up there. Yeah,
Isn't that Orlando with
The strategy.
that's what it is. That's what it is. Thank you.
No.
It's a sailor event.
It's
Maller's is gonna be there.
strategy world in Orlando.
But at this Bitcoin Day event, which is coming in June, everybody, this is our little, our version of the Bitcoin conference here locally. You'll be speaking there. So will Byron Donald. So will Gary Cardone. Quite a few other awesome people. So it's going to
Is
be.
that in Tampa?
This is here in Naples.
Oh, in
This is going
That'll
to
be in Tampa.
This one.
Oh, you're right. This time it's in Tampa. So not as close, but after that we will be back in Naples. We're collaborating with another Bitcoin meetup in Tampa this time around. It'll be the only time we have it there. Going forward, it'll only be back here.
No, there's gonna be one in Virginia.
After that, no more other ones. Dude, I am all over the place right now. Which one?
The one in Naples.
Okay,
I
cool.
was
Yeah.
out- I was
So,
volunteering.
we're doing 2 other events with other chapters, one with MicroStrategy in Virginia later this year, which is gonna be awesome. But after that, we're gonna stick to Naples because it's just, there's so much going on, and this is a very special location.
You wanna
wanna
make
just keep-
Naples the Bitcoin capital.
Of Southwest Florida, you betcha. So unfortunately, yesterday, Florida dropped, fumbled the bag on us and,
Yeah.
you know about that?
He
Yeah, right.
What do you think about
What
that?
happened?
It's unbelievable. I want answers. We're talking to Samuel Arms, who's one of our partners, and he's part of the Blockchain Business Association who got Ron DeSantis to draft this anti-CBDC bill. So we're asking him what's going on because he was pivotal in pushing this legislation forward. But yesterday it got shot down, both bills. But there is still a window of opportunity to amend it.
Oh, like Arizona.
That's right. New Hampshire is the first
Yes,
state
I was
in
just gonna
America.
mention that, I got an email, because I was from New Hampshire.
In Arizona.
Kelly, they have just signed a bill,
Yep.
and they're the very
I
first
know.
one.
Who would have thought? They're the first
In
state.
the nation.
With
First one,
a, with a state Bitcoin, strategic reserve. So this is gonna start happening, Arizona's gonna do it, right, Katie?
Arizona, they blocked it.
But I
She
thought
vetoed
Florida was
Veto.
also,
I know.
and they shot that down as of yesterday.
They shot it down,
Holy-
yeah. So
That's good. That means it's cheaper Bitcoin for us.
Yes, I know Florida just, New Hampshire just signed that, I got that.
Where does Byron Donald stand in Bitcoin?
Oh,
He's
he's
for it.
all for it.
For it.
All for it.
Yeah.
Amen.
So last year at our conference, we had him there, Trump was there, RFK was there, Vivek was there.
Yeah, it's,
No, at the Bitcoin conference.
Yeah.
But
So do you know what is the reason why it was shut down?
it's so early. I was trying to get information, but, it's some political posturing. I think,
I think it's important for us to know why.
yeah, for sure.
Who
We
shot
want
him?
answers. We want answers, but that's, I'm looking into that. Yeah, it's been such a busy day. Literally, I kid you not, yesterday and the day prior, we've been recording 10 hours plus every day with Larry Lepard, which has been amazing, right? But we're just spread so thin. But, just,
Who
Yeah.
shot that down, was it DeSantis?
it was, I think that, some senators did, right? I don't know exactly who, but, We have apparently until June 6th to amend that, so hopefully something happens. There's still a chance. So I think the Bitcoin community is gonna make themselves heard, and we're gonna see, some people losing.
Just
the
gonna
Bitcoin.
ask you, is there something that we can do as a community?
Yes, actually, that's a great, thank you.
Emails.
I'm gonna talk to Samuel Arms.
Yeah,
This is how we got this to go forward to begin with, was by signing petitions and,
Yeah.
and sending emails and whatnot. So yes,
we can do our
thank
part.
you. Yes,
Let us know.
awesome, we'll do
Now,
it.
do you have all that email?
No, but on the Discord, if you're not in the Discord, I don't have a QR code with me right now.
For what?
A QR code for the Discord. We have a Discord group. If you're part of it, we'll make sure it's there. If not, on our Twitter accounts, you're not on X, so
I don't have any of that.
yeah. Let's see if I can get the QR code. Does anybody have can you get the QR code up? Thank you. Whoever wants to jump on the Discord, feel free to. We'll get it out to you there. Thanks for coming today,
Which
guys.
one are you on Discord?
Jeff will get you a QR code real quick.
Which one are you using?
I don't, but let me see. Usually they put it
I am on here.
If I'm back on here.
And then if it's just not.
It's just been you.
I